library with books by shopping at shop.mikechurch.com.
For 9 years now, Brother Andre Marie has been your source for best in Catholic philosophy, history, and saints. Catch new episodes of Reconquest Wednesdays at 8 Central on the Crusade Radio Network, our app, and always on crusadechannel.com.
Our saint of the day is Saint Emily de Vialar, who was the foundress of the Sisters of the Saint Joseph of the Apparition. Anne Marguerite Adelaide Emily de Vialar was the eldest child and only daughter of Baron James Augustin de Vialar, and daughter of the Baron de Portal, who was physician in ordinary to Louis XVIII and Charles X of France. She was born at Gaillac in 1797, and at the age of 15 was removed from school in Paris to be companion to her father, now a widower, but unhappily differences arose between them because of Emily's refusal to consider a suitable marriage. For 15 years, Emily was the good angel of Gaillac, devoting herself to the care of children neglected by their parents and to the help of the poor generally. In 1832, her maternal grandfather died, leaving her a share of his estate, which was quite a considerable fortune. She bought a large house at Gaillac and took possession of it with 3 companions. Others joined them, and 3 months later, the archbishop authorized the abbey to clothe 12 postulates with the religious habit, and they called themselves the Congregation of Sisters of St. Joseph of the Apparition. In 1835, she made her profession with 17 other sisters and received formal approval for the congregation. According to a new study in the Journal of the American Heart Association, avocados help people sleep better, especially the overweight. Researchers tracked 969 adults aged 25 and over who had abdominal obesity, which is characterized as a waistline that is 35 inches or more for women and 40 or more for men. For 26 weeks, half of the group ate 1 large Hass avocado per day, while the other half consumed their usual diet, less than 2 avocados per month. And as expected, the avocado eating group saw marked improvements in their blood lipids, or fatty substances like triglycerides and cholesterol, as well as overall diet. I'm Janet Huxley for the Crusade Radio Network, seeking news and finding truth.
Now in our 9th year, Crusade Channel News is simply the best daily newscast on all of radio that informs and inspires the Crusader Nation. Catch it at 6, 8, 11, and 1 p.m. on the Crusade Radio Network, our app, and always on crusadechannel.com.
We have our reverb back. Breaking! Yes. This is interesting. Cheesedale says the big event at the Vatican tomorrow. No details. Leaving us all to flounder about and try and ascertain what it is that's the big event. Lots going on in Netanyahu's latest U.S. war. We'll tell you all about that. Of course, we would love to take your phone calls. We'll get that started here. First, let's ask the question of the day.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Well, I tell you.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the First Galactic
righty. Call-in line telephone number. I mentioned it earlier. 844-527-8723. 844-5-CRUSADE. We? Who's we? Moments ago, President Trump, we have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. Okay. Who's we? If you say we, that implies, what are we, an ally now? Or are we a co-combatant? We means, in that instance, means possessive, not genitive, it's possessive. There was a full, there was a complete press, it was a true social tweet, right? Didn't just say we have complete and total control over the skies.
If I could get it to load, I'd show you what it says.
Why can't you get it to load? You have a brand spanking new MacBook with super duper high tech jet fighter processors and stuff. You should be able to. Okay. I have True Social Post. I'll tell you all about it. So we have that. There is to be supposedly a big announcement at the Vatican tomorrow. I do not know anything about it. I haven't seen anyone else post it. I got a cryptic note from Cheesedale and saying that she will be there to cover it. And that's all I can tell you right now. We will cover that. J.D. Vance has a long statement out just a moment or 30 ago. Why are you not in your head? Moment or 30 ago about the situation with the nukes or with the nuclear enrichment in Iran. Also, just about an hour ago, a big breaking! Supposedly, Iran or Israel has discovered a new nuke site in Iran and only shared the intel with the neocon hacks at Fox News. Does any of this make any sense whatsoever? We have sound bites that we did not get to earlier today that we will get to. And I also was just blousing some of the news here today. You're going to be surprised and shocked when you find out just how coordinated the effort or the action in California and L.A. was over 2 weeks twixt the groups that perpetrated it, the governor of the state, and the entirety of the government of the county of Los Angeles. You know, imagine if you could coordinate in this kind of a way for people's good and benefit. Can you imagine the problems that could be solved if you had that kind of coordination to do something that was actually productive and led to human flourishing? So all of that is going on as we speak and as we get to our headlines here today. I had a couple of stories from the pile today that I did not do. This, by the way, LSU, the only university that matters, go Tigers. LSU is beating UCLA. Maggie, do you have the updated box score? It was in the fourth inning, and it was 7-3 last time we checked. But more importantly, LSU is 10,000 Jell-O shots in the lead. And look, that is the real measure. This is why people love for LSU to come into the go to the World Series. I spent 5 days in Omaha, and 20.
It's still 7-3.
It's 7-3. Fifth inning.
3-6.
Through the sixth inning, still 7-3 LSU over UCLA. If the Tigers can pull it off and get whoever the relief pitcher is, get out of there with a save and save the game, that would advance them to the quarterfinals, I believe, because this will be their second victory. This will send UCLA to the losers bracket, but again, you got to win the game. I didn't realize that the Tigers baseball team was this good this year. You know, we all watched the team. Was it 2 years ago with the Bayou Bambino? I think it was 2 years ago. What a fun World Series and a great season that was. And it looks like the Tigers are about to pull that off again. So I have okay, this is a headline from earlier today. Supreme Court to hear Chevron ExxonMobil appeal over damage to Louisiana coast. Started in I don't know if you remember this story. Started in 2013, 6 parishes along the Gulf of America coast in Louisiana initiated 42 lawsuits accusing oil and gas companies of running afoul of state permitting law, the State and Local Coastal Resources Manglement Act of 1978. First case went to trial, and in April, a jury ordered Chevron to pay $744.6 million in Plaquemines Parish. That was how much? $744.6 million. Now, you are listening to someone that was on the air on the Sirius XM Patriot channel when the Deep Horizon exploded, Lucy. So, it was in 2012? It was in Obama's first term. It was in Obama's first term. And I remember so much about this. Some of the things that I remember about it were as the oil slick, whatever you want to call it, made its way towards the shore and towards the oyster reefs outside or offshore of Grand Isle and that area down there that if you were a New Orleanian, that many of us have been to so many times, and I'm sure some of you probably go there often and still fish and what have you. You knew the slick was coming. There were people that were volunteering to help. You remember Kevin Costner? Kevin Costner was an investment in a company that had a technology that was made specifically for oil spills. And I forget what it was. I was 10, 12 years ago. But Costner had made the overture to the governor that look, I think I can help you with this. And but I have to have you have to have permission, what have you here. And remember that dear leader, Chairman Mao Obama. Remember that Mao Obama was telling Governor Jindal at the time, you can't use your National Guard there, and your troops. It's international water. I made this. It's mine. So I call the shots, and I think, say, Louisiana ought to burn. You didn't vote for me, so you can all go crawfish screw yourself. Remember Obama refusing to allow things to occur that Bobby Jindal was saying that, well, I've applied to the Obama regime, and they wouldn't let me do it. I can remember saying at the time that if that slick got close enough to to Grand Isle and to the Chandelier Islands and all that the coastal area down south of New Orleans, that it would be unconscionable to me for the then Governor Jindal, to not defy the feds and tell them to go pound sand, that we have the guard here, we have the Costner technology and whatever else that they had, to go and to do all that you could do to keep that oil slick from hitting land. and from destroying oyster beds and the inland fishing waters where the redfish like to hang out and what have you here. And Jindal was right there. Dude, I thought he was going to do it. I mean, he was right there. The guard was there. He was actually there. And then Obama swoops in on his broomstick at the 11th hour to talk, to tell, I don't know what he told Governor Jindal at the time, but whatever he told him, Jindal got horrified, and you never saw the National Guard or heard a peep out of any local people saying that this was going to be irrevocably damaged and what have you here. And the end result was, I forget for how many years, well, an oil spill like that never really goes away. Over time, bacteria and other critters will eat it. But there's always some, there's stuff that's in petroleum, benzene and what have you. There's stuff that there are critters that don't eat it, and it stays there for forever. So when they talk about having lawsuits overturned, you did this. Now, it wasn't necessarily ExxonMobil, but, you had to remember, and this may be too local for some of you that are watching this outside of the New Orleans area. If you were to look at a satellite imagery map, if they had such a thing, and let's say you could generate one from 1900, which you can't, but there are maps from around that time, and then you were able to generate one last week. Here's what you would see. You would see that the coastline, the landmass that makes up the coastline of Louisiana, has shed somewhere between 40 and 45 miles inland. This is as a result of these same oil companies crisscrossing and cutting through the marshes and whacking all the cypress forests that were originally there, and then cutting all this manner of canals in straight lines, which is anathema to silt buildup and what have you here, and completely screwing that beautiful system down there that had protected the coast of Louisiana for so long. That's why the hurricanes are so bad now when they come up on this side of the Mississippi or the Red River or Morgan City, because there's nothing there to stop them. Maggie's got an image right there. What is that? What are we?
Land loss?
Now that's what?
Land.
That's the land loss. And the orange area is what's been lost, I assume,
Yeah.
right? So you can see what has been lost, and you can see that it goes all the way to just to the east, where you can see where the Chafalaya River or whatever it is that comes out in Morgan City there. That's where pretty much it ends. This is a tragedy and a travesty of immeasurable proportions. There have been estimates. I remember Mary Landrieu, when she was a senator, saying that it was like $40 billion to rebuild what was lost down there. This is a $750 million lawsuit. This is going to do absolutely nothing. Lawyers like Morris Bart or whoever are going to gobble up a third of this, and the rest is going to be distributed piecemeal to some certain individuals down there. It won't fix the problem. And the problem, the main problem is that the Mississippi River doesn't like where it's currently coming out, and it wants to turn. We can't let it turn, though, because then that would starve the port of New Orleans. Well, it wouldn't starve it, but you'd certainly lose a lot of the water. And so the Corps of Engineers works overtime to keep the river from going out, turning where it wants to, which is somewhere around Abbeville. So for those of you that look at a distance of of your beloved South Louisiana, and you love the Cajun food, you love to come to visit us down here, to come see me and Maggie and all that, you have no idea of the horrific damage that has been done to this state. And look, there have been efforts to try and stop it and recoup it. We get screwed every time. Supreme Court is not expected to focus on the merits of the locality's lawsuits, but instead will review whether procedural rules were followed by lower courts. Some companies prefer to litigate in federal court, which they consider to be more amenable to companies than state courts. Well, that should, again, you can see the writing on the wall. Screw Louisiana and screw the people of Louisiana. S. Parker in the chat room says every state has an Abbeville. Every state has a Corps of Engineers project that people look at and go like, will you please leave? Yeah, we don't want you here any longer. By the way, you guys are the ones that were assuring people, oh, no, those Katrina, oh, those levees will hold. You know, we built and certified those levees. Of course they're hurricane category 4 schmore. They'll hold. The companies argued that 42 lawsuits should be removed or transferred to federal court because federal officials had a connection to the refining contract. Specifically, they argued that the cases should be transferred because 28 U.S. Code section blah, 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 blah gives federal courts jurisdiction or authority over civil lawsuits filed against any person acting under as an officer for the United States. You know, I can add one more thing to this that no one else in all of talk radio mafia media can talk about. And I'm the only one that knows anything about it. As a matter of fact, maybe next time I try and get a interview with Governor Landry, his goon that manages his media schedule won't turn me down. Let me tell all you whodats something that no one else will tell you. And I can prove it. Go to whatever internet source that you wish, or go to a library, good old-fashioned library, and go pull up a copy, a text typewritten copy of the Louisiana Constitution of 1812. There are several things that are in that Constitution that are simply eureka moments if the people of Louisiana would ever get off their duffs and would have leaders that would tell them things like this. You should go read with very attentive eyes the boundaries of the state of Louisiana. You will, and then look them up. They're going to give you a latitude or a latitude line, and then they're going to measure certain things from that latitude line in leagues. We don't measure things in leagues any longer, but you can get a conversion from leagues to feet or leagues to mile or whatever the case may be. You go and measure this thing, and then what you will see is that the state of Louisiana claimed approximately, this is an approximation now, from where they say international water starts today and where Louisiana water ends, they're off by about 45 miles in our favor. I mean, in their favor. In other words, they have encroached 45 miles in from where they should be. Now, the erosion is the major problem and the loss of land. But my proposition has always been, and my thought on this has always been, that just because the land that used to be there got flooded doesn't mean you get to take it. Does everyone understand? If you go from the farthest point south that you could go off of Grand Isle, for example, where there's actual land, well, do a straight line and go out. I'll even give them the benefit of the doubt. Go out 40 miles. It's not very deep there. And this is why you have to go so deep out to get into deep water. That is Louisiana territory. That's ours. It shouldn't matter that it got over time that it got flooded and the boundary shifted. And the 1812 Constitution shows this. You know, when Colonel Rob Maness announced that he was going to run for the U.S. Senate in 2012, and he asked me to come and to host and to do his announcement, and I went to Kenner and I did it, and all the usual suspect in the press corps were there, and I had told Rob, I had given Rob that map, and I said, I'll do it on one condition: if you are elected, you will do something about this. And he read it and he goes, is this real? Is this true? And I said, yeah, it's true. And he said, yeah, I'm going to put you on the committee to research it. Will you do it? And I went, hell yeah, I'll do it. So, well, of course, Rob didn't get elected because Decepticon Republicans kept him out of that office. But in any event, it's one of the greatest untold stories that has never been told. And I guess like the amazing secret history of Catholic New Orleans, yours truly will be the one that will have to tell it. You know, I'll tell you one more thing on this. There was a candidate, he did not get elected governor, but he ran for governor against Governor Landry. I met with his campaign guy 2.5 years ago or so, and I had I had the maps and everything, and I showed him this, and he goes, he's looking for an issue that no one else has. Because he called me up, and he goes, look, it's a long shot, our candidacy, we're looking for an issue that no one else has. I said, I got one for you. And I met with him, and I handed it all over to him. I don't know what they ever did with it, but it is an amazing story. And this lawsuit story that we had today just reminded me of it. So pray for your hoodats down here in Louisiana that we're able to reclaim what the oil companies and the federal government has stolen from us.
You won't hear anything about Monday's coming or fruitcakes, but you will hear the most brutally honest Catholic-inspired commentary on Parrot Talk. Weekdays after the King Dude at 2 Central on the Crusade Radio Network, our app, and always on CrusadeChannel.com.
This is a pixel. Now, if you put a couple of million of these dudes together, you can make a sentence on an LED screen. Put a couple billion of them together, and you can make a whole page. Put 160 billion of them together, and you've got Nina Gaynor's A Garden for Mary children's book. But it doesn't smell like a book. And it'll burn teeny little holes in your kids' teeny little corneas. So is the pixel really their friend? That's right, Groot. No. But the Founders Trading Post is their friend. And we have actual books with actual kind of kid-smelly pages and pictures, because kids lack in pictures. Plus, our little bookstore has everything the kids' parents expect. Yep, we got the beast and butt rubs, but nope, there is no Helen Reddy played here.
Pick up a copy of Garden for Mary, plus dozens of other Catholic children's books titles at shop.mychurch.com.
Hello, Crusaders. I'm Janet Huxley at the Crusade Radio Network News Desk with your Crusade Crucials for June the 17th, 2025. This report is brought to you by Mike Church's Beast and Butt Rub, a rub that's won championships and will help make you a champ in your kitchen or backyard. Check out Mike's recipes and pick up a bottle or 6 today at shop.mikechurch.com. In the market report, the Dow was up 0.75%, the S&P 0.94%, NASDAQ climbed 1.52%. In National Day calendar news, today is National Mascot Day, and it's Eat Your Vegetables Day. It's National Cherry Tart Day. The actual date of this delicious food holiday dates back to Michigan during the mid-1800s. It is Michigan that is one of the largest producers of tart cherries in the U.S. It's also National Apple Strudel Day. Strudel is thought to have originated during the 16th century in Austria, but the earliest strudel recipes don't appear until the 17th century. And it's National Root Beer Day. During the 16th and 17th century colonization of the U.S., root beer trees were used as a way for Europeans to form relationships with the tribes. Our quote of the day: the nation doesn't simply need what we have, it needs what we are. St. Teresa Benedicta. And our saint of the day, St. Emily de Villar. You're listening to Crusade Radio Network News.
The Crusade Channel, your news, talk, and Fiorella file station. Fiorella reads and reviews so you can read and purchase with confidence, 9 to 10 a.m. every Monday on the Crusade Radio Network, our app, and always on CrusadeChannel.com.
Is this a song, a commentary on current events?
Pull way down low. Ain't no sound but the sound of his feet. Machine guns ready to go. Are you ready?
Another regime in the Middle East is about to bite the dust.
Out of the doorway, the bullets rip. To the sound of the beat.
And boom, boom, boom. Another regime bites the dust. Mike Church on the Crusade Radio Network, welcoming all of you listening anywhere out there on the network, including on 990 AM WGSO. This portion of the program brought to you by the Founders Trade and Post store at shop.mikechurch.com. That's shop.mikechurch.com. Take us up on great offers there, including Sacred Heart, Jesus flags on sale, 10% off for the month of June, which is the month of the Sacred Heart. Too many great books to tell you about, but there are new releases that come in pretty much every week. Mike Church Show neon microphone T-shirts are there. Capuchin Holy Roast Coffee and ground and whole bean, and my Manchipia Maria cigars, which are fresh in and both natural and really, really tasty. Maduro wrapper. Shop with us today at shop.mikechurch.com. Shop.mikechurch.com. And if you're not a shopper, but you want to support the program and Crusade Radio Network, our nonprofit, the Radio Guild, go to crusadechannel.com/donate. All right, just in moments ago. I'm looking to see. Well, Thomas Massey says, I just introduced an Iran War Powers resolution with Representative Rouhani to prevent U.S. involvement in the Israel-Iran war. It will be very interesting to see. Massey will be able to peel off, I don't know how many out of the Freedom Caucus, but probably almost the entirety of the Democrat Party who aren't Jews. Because there are plenty of Democrat Zionists, too. Is there a coalition there to get to 218 or 219 votes? I don't know. But I did see that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said she's in. She is a yes vote on the Iran War Powers resolution. And the reason that Massey may have to file this is because of the following. Just moments ago, 11:23 a.m. Are these the same tweets? Because there's no time code on the other one.
No,
Which one came first?
They're all different tweets.
Okay.
The first one is the one where we have control of the air.
Okay, so here's what you have missed over the course of the first half hour of the program. From President Trump at about the top of the hour, this is where I said, dude, sir, we? Who's we? Why are you saying we? Again, you said no wars, no stupid wars in the Mideast, and he has used this, Iran must have a nuke, to justify this, what seems to me to be a brazen act of ego and bravado. No, you're going to come to the table and you're going to make an Iran deal with me. I don't care what Biden did to you. I'm going to put you out of business. You know, there's so much of this about this foreign entanglement crap that I don't like, and I bet most of you don't like it either. We now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. You mean to tell me that the United States of America is claiming air superiority or some kind of a check over the sovereign state of Iran, who we are not at war with? So that means that any Iranians that have been killed in these bombing raids that began last Friday night, well, that's on us then. Congratulations, Mr. Trump. You have just now unleashed any Iranian sleeper cells anywhere in the world to wreak, yes, direct havoc on American citizens anywhere where they may find themselves. Will that happen? I don't know. Are they out there? I bet they are. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff. Nobody does it better than the good old USA. Nobody does what better? Bombs, kills, and maims people? This coming from the guy that got elected president, knocked the front runner, Jeb Bush, low energy Jeb, knocked him out. In 2 debates, he knocked him out by saying that his brother was wrong. He's made stupid mistakes to go in and do a regime change in Iraq, and even more stupid was Obama with the Arab Spring in Libya. So who's we?
I'd like to talk a little bit about the war in the Persian Gulf. Big doings in the Persian Gulf. You know my favorite part of that war? It's the first war we ever had that was on every channel plus cable. And the war got good ratings too, didn't it? Got good ratings. Well, we like war. We like war. We're a warlike people. We like war because we're good at it. And you know why we're good at it? Because we get a lot of practice. This country's only 200 years old, and already we've had 10 major wars. We average a major war every 20 years in this country, so we're good at it. And it's a good thing we are. We're not very good at anything else anymore. Huh? Can't build a decent car, can't make a TV set or a VCR worth of Got no steel industry left, can't educate our young people, can't get health care to our old people, but we can bomb the shit out of your country, all right? Huh? We can bomb the shit out of your country, all right? Especially if your country is full of brown people. Oh, we like that, don't we? That's our hobby. That's our new job in the world, bombing brown people. Iraq, Panama, Grenada, Libya, you got some brown people in your country. Tell them to watch the f*** out, or we'll goddamn bomb them. Well, when's the last white people you can remember?
Well, you get the gist. We're a warlike people. We're acting warlike again. Why do I find myself in cahoots with lunatics like Paya Jambalaya, Wakanda, whatever the hell her name is? Senator Jack Reed. You know, I heard Fetterman earlier today on Fox News. Well, obviously, I stand with unconditional support for unconditional war with Israel. This has been the greatest hijacking of American interests and American foreign policy in the history of the United States. Imagine that the Mexicans were able to do this to us. Just imagine. Yeah, but what about the only thing that even comes close to this, and it probably did cost a little bit more, certainly a little bit more in lives, was how Churchill made an alliance with Roosevelt while Roosevelt was campaigning and lying to the American public and telling them he was not going to conscript or draft their sons and send them into a war in a foreign country. But within 2 weeks, or hell, it wasn't even 2 weeks, within 7 days of each other, Roosevelt managed to get us entangled in the war with Japan, which he knew was coming. If he didn't know about Pearl Harbor, he should have known about it. And read Pat Buchanan's books on it. There are a lot of books written on this subject. And then, of course, there was in cahoots with Churchill, the United States, U.S. shipyards are supplying, under this stupid Lend-Lease program, another program we got screwed on. We are building ships for the British Navy because the Germans keep seeking them. Most people don't know this story. There are documentaries that have been made about it. That's the only foreign policy deal that stinks to higher than this one. And then, of course, you know, you bring World War II to an end with a demand of unconditional surrender by the Japanese. And again, most Americans are historically ignorant and don't know the real history behind this because to the victor go the spoils and the writing of the history. The real story is that there was never any ex-invasion plan. 900,000 GIs were never going to storm and be killed storming the beaches of Japan. That was not the plan. But they had to have some reason. Truman had to offer some reason, so they cooked this scenario up. I'm not the only one that knows about this, talks about it, and I'm also not the only one that says that Admiral Nimitz, Douglas MacArthur, several in the high command basically told Truman he was nuts. You can't demand an unconditional surrender from the Holy Emperor, and I'm not saying holy because I think he's holy, that's what they called him, to the Holy Emperor of Japan. You know that we ruined, when Japan finally has no Japanese people left, because they chose industrialization and paganism, over what little Christianity they had, but they had a holy emperor there, and at least they were a flourishing people. You know what? You could say at the end of the day that the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and Truman's demand that the Japanese can forevermore the Holy Roman or the Holy Emperor of Japan, the emperor as they called him, that is what ultimately, I believe, history books will show, has led to the end of Japan. Now, maybe there's a miracle, maybe there's a Marian apparition that happens there, and God works this out for them, and they replenish their population, which they are currently not on a course to do. And I pray that's the outcome here. So when I hear the words unconditional surrender, I think Truman, nukes, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Japan. Trump, after the first tweet, we own the skies. All caps, unconditional surrender. Exclamation point. You want that from Gavin Newsom, Commie Karen Bass, or from the Ayatollah? And surrender to who? Do you understand the legal ramifications of this? Surrender to who? There's no act of war between the United States and Iran. Who's he going to surrender to? Who in the hell is telling Trump that this is a good course of action? I'm telling you, this is not going to poll well, and it's not going to poll well against MAGA Americans because we've had it with this crap. Listen to this one. This one's even worse. We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. Mr. President, he's not the so-called. That's the title that they gave him or that he chose. He is an easy target, but is safe there. Now you're threatening to assassinate? You know, somebody tried to kill you, and it's the reason that 70-some-odd million people, many of them went out and voted for you, and now you're threatening? This is a threat. You're threatening to assassinate the leader of a foreign nation? Will someone please tell this egomaniac at the White House that this kind of saber-rattling bravado is not cool? We are not going to take him out, kill, in parentheses, at least not for now. You know, that's an international crime. You are a party to the United Nations Charter. It is an international crime to be talking in public about assassinating and taking out leaders. You know, at least George H.W. Bush got one thing right in his wretched war. After Saddam Hussein was captured, he turned him over to I can't remember if it was an Iraqi court or an international court, whatever it was. He had to stand trial, and he was ultimately convicted, and then they hanged him. We're just going to skip the whole capture and trial part. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Why are American soldiers close enough to have missiles shot at them? Our patience is wearing thin. For what? What is your patience? Your patience is wearing thin for what? Thank you for your attention to this matter. Please tell me there's not another one.
Nope.
Maggie, please tell me that I don't have to read another one, that's all that there is to that, and I'm going to be happy. All right. We didn't talk about this. See, which ones didn't we play earlier today? You know what? I want to hear. I want everyone to hear digital media file number 17. And you know what? Do Owen Schroyer. We'll do 15 and then 17. At the beginning of this year, it was last year, I interviewed InfoWars' Owen Schroyer. And I asked him about, because he got convicted in 010621 as being some sort of a co-conspirator. And I asked him what it was like, they put you in that federal pen. Well, what was it like? And he told it was a great interview, and Owen's a up and coming broadcaster. This is what Owen Schroyer said yesterday.
If Trump gets us into a war in Iran, the MAGA base will split. The populist movement, the MAGA base will split. It will be fractured. It's very likely the Republicans will lose the House, probably the general in 2028. And what you're going to see is the entire political alignment, mostly from a media standpoint, which does happen every election cycle, but it's going to be hyperspeed now. The entire political media landscape will be reshuffled and reorganized, and we will go back 25 years to the Bush years. That's where it will go. So it'll be the same type of coalitions fractured out of the right. It'll be the same type of coalitions fractured out of the left. And it'll be the same type of debates about foreign entanglements and foreign wars that we had in the Bush years. And, of course, what did the Bush years bring us? They brought us Barack Obama. So what do you think is going to come after Trump if this happens? You're going to get an AOC. You're going to get an AOC. You're going to get a Gavin Newsom. That's where all of this goes. So if we blow this deal up, if we blow this MAGA coalition up, if we blow this populist movement up that we have done incredible things, miraculous things with in the last 10 years, with President Trump as the leader, we will go back to the Bush years. We will reset the entire political cycle 25 years back. The MAGA coalition populist movement will be completely fractured. It will have to reset under someone else. Who knows?
How many of you agree with that assessment? Right now, we have the specter. I could go out on a limb and say that the Democrats have a better than even chance of getting this limitation of war powers against the Iranians through both houses of Congress. And serving the president notice, dude, Mr. President, you can't do this. You can't invoke the War Powers Act. Imagine that you have all of these people that have been so fastidiously fighting all of these federal judges, and then to offer up some kind of sick, twisted, Zionist golden calf or sacrifice? You're willing to risk all of that? I'm with you, Shafa13 in the chat room. I don't get it. I don't think anyone gets it. Play Colonel Douglas McGregor. All right, you want some of the strategy of what's going on here? I am especially disturbed by this. We now have total control of the skies. That's a war. That means you activated and actively participated, even though you said the other night, we had nothing to do with this. Well, you're just saying we have. Who's we? I want to know who we is. I am not good with Israel, the wretched, pagan, Jesus-denying state of Israel. And yes, all you Zionists out there, that's what they are. I am not okay with them being the 51st state and with American resources being now poured into what is now obviously a serious war effort here. And now you have the President of the United States saying, we? Who's we? Colonel McGregor.
And Zelensky, frankly, the way he was treated, I think President Trump was far too gentle. I'm surprised that two giant Secret Service agents did not come in, pick him up, and remove him from the office. But the way he handled Zelensky is the way he's got to handle Netanyahu. Because if he doesn't, Netanyahu will drag him into the abyss. Because he wants this war in the Middle East come hell or high water. And it's not in their interest.
What war?
The war with Iran, the war with everybody. I mean, you've seen these settings where Netanyahu sits at a table and he's got everybody around him in his cabinet, and he says, this is our opportunity to settle with everyone. We're fighting on 5 fronts. No, we're fighting on 7 fronts. And he starts ticking off You know, everyone from the Houthis to the militias in Iraq and Syria and now Iran and so forth. If you look at the map today, he's trying to occupy Syria all the way up to the edge of Damascus. And Erdogan, who is a very clever but slippery character, has already said, forget it. We're not going to tolerate that in southern Syria. So he's pushing the envelope to the very edge. In Damascus, there are three great Islamic cities in the region. One is Cairo, the other is Jerusalem, and then Damascus. They're not going to surrender Damascus to the Israelis. So whatever happens, the Turks will eventually become involved. They'll march in.
So, I mean, that creates a kind of structural problem because Turkey is a member of NATO.
I don't think so, because I don't think NATO matters.
Maybe you're right.
I don't think it has for a long time.
Well, it matters in a material sense. We just use the name NATO to wage a war against Russia for 3 years that we lost.
Yeah.
So, but that would be the end of NATO, right?
Well, if what we're talking about will end everything that we're accustomed to, the rules-based order, which just means our global hegemony in military and economic terms. Everyone in BRICS is now...
Everyone in BRICS, and that's the other thing that people aren't talking about. I'm just looking at, scrolling around on X and looking at things. You know, the Straits of Hormuz can be closed by the Iranians. It's not all about the skies over Iran. What are you going to do about the sea? And if the Iranians close the Straits of Hormuz, then global oil prices are going to go Thanos snap 30-40% overnight. And there will your markets are going to tank. All of these things are going to happen. You know, if you look at that on a map, the Straits of Hormuz. So it's where the Persian Gulf comes and kind of makes that loop around the northern part of the Arabian Peninsula, empties out into the Indian Ocean. So, and that's Iranian water space there. They choose to cut the, and I'm not a naval expert, so, or a shipping expert, so I'm not sure, but I have been told by people that are naval experts and are shipping experts, I have been told in private messages that they have sent to me that if the Iranians close the Straits of Hormuz, then, well, there will be hell to pay throughout the rest of the world. Now, I don't know if they, without their air power, if they're still able to do this. Somebody else just mentioned, yeah, what you got?
It's just some breaking news. ICE has arrested New York's mayoral candidate Brad Lander for, quote, interfering with ICE operations, end quote. And there's video of him being wrestled to the ground.
I see that. This will be the next one that they'll all be out there. He's like Senator Padilla. Am I the only one that feels like we're like at Kent State University and it's 1969 or 1968 all over again, and things are about to spiral completely out of control? By the way, that Zionist hack, Mike Huckabee, used the terms unconditional surrender. I don't believe that God told President Trump he should yell at the Iranians about unconditional surrender, which is what Truman demanded of Emperor Hirohito at the end of World War II, folks. If news breaks out, we will break in. If we go to war on a presidential order, yes, I will come on and we will be live. So you're going to want to keep your radio tuned right here to the Crusade Radio Network. Pray, folks, pray. God bless you and Mary keep you. God help us.